Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We have a wonderful guest in studio with me today. He is Dr. Chuck Polcaster, and he's from the Associates in Professional Counseling and Coaching. Welcome. Nice to see you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's talk a little bit. We've got two things to talk about, but let's talk a little bit about the counseling part of your business. What type do you do, and why is it important?
Well, the kind of counseling we do is clinical.
Okay.
And we actually have 13 providers.
Wow.
And 5 offices around Chicago area. Our office here in Naperville is across from the Marriott out by Route 88.
Sure.
And what we do is kind of a collection of clinical activities. Many people come in with depression, anxiety, but we have substance abuse issues and just a whole wide range. We have one wonderful counselor, so a lot of experience. So we have a lot of people come for a lot of different reasons.
And when do you think, we often think about counseling, and when do we need to seek it? How do we know when we should do that?
Well, sometimes you just have a good friend and you can talk and get some clarity, and thank God for that. But there comes a time when that's not enough. It's not working. Sometimes your physician will suggest maybe you need to get some clarity, or you're just aware that your mind is not where it should be. You're thinking in odd or strange ways. Your coping is not what it used to be. Your thoughts are ruminating. You're not thinking from a problem to a solution. You're just getting lost in your thoughts. You don't want to get up in the morning. You don't want to go to work. Those would be signs that you really should seek some counseling and work with a professional to sort out what's going on and how to get out of that.
And a counseling relationship's very intimate and personal. How do you choose one? How do you find that person?
That's a great question, because one of the most important things is that relationship.
Yeah.
And all these studies that are done in all different theories of psychotherapy, one of the baselines is if you can relate to your counselor. So I think one of the first things is if you have a friend or somebody who's had a successful experience, rather than just go on the internet and kind of scroll down, somebody can say, I went to see them and they were really helpful. The second thing is when you make your first visit, trust your instincts. If it's not clicking, then move on. You usually can tell that often within one visit, and you feel comfortable or you don't.
And I would think that the counselor understands that the relationship has to work, so that's okay too, because I think most people are worried that they're going to upset the counselor.
No. The counselors love working with people that want to be there and are connecting. That makes their day a lot easier as well. But typically when you're going to counselor, whether it's a psychologist, a social worker, or a counselor, they're all licensed, they're all trained, so that should be your baseline. And after that is, do they have the proper experience? Do they have the training in the specific thing that you're going to need to deal with? And that just makes the whole thing go smoother.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things that I think is very unique to your firm is that you've got this coaching piece. What's the difference between counseling and coaching, and how does it go together?
That's a great question. We ask that frequently. Well, counseling really looks at pathology. There's a diagnosis. There's a specific area that you're bringing hope and healing and health to. Now, coaching on the other side is our business department. That's where we're working with physicians, executives, and other professionals to increase their performance, increase their leadership, and adjust their life-work balance. So they're different. And one is kind of a healing medical model, and the other is business growth, development, and leadership. Well, they sometimes will cross over. The truth of it is they're very different in their training model and the results.
And I would think that, I do think they cross over. And with the coaching, you're really trying to give them some skills to help them improve performance.
Yes.
And whether that be somebody who's been promoted or suddenly finds themselves in a different leadership position?
Well, exactly. A person who's a director level, now they're promoted to maybe vice president. And it requires larger scope, a different line of thinking, a different mindset. There's a great book that the title tells it all. It's What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And some of the same things that people have successfully done to come to some level of leadership, now when they're promoted, if they keep doing the same thing, it's not going to work as well. So our job is to help find out where those gaps are, coach them up to that new level.
And do you think a lot of your professionals are surprised that they need coaching because well, hey, I got this promotion, I must be able to do it?
That's great. Some are. Some are like, I thought I had this.
Yeah.
But often their boss says, we've got some experience here. You will onboard faster. Your promotion will be more effective in the first 90 days if you get this coaching. It just speeds up the whole process. Is that we have some tools and instruments, and our coaches are specifically trained to maximize that potential.
And you've got a training factor there too. So how's the coaching and the training go?
Well, the third element of our business is training, and so the training model is we have trainers that work for us and other major companies, and they'll go in. They will teach on. We have one on the communicating and leading through the 4 generations, and Hayden Shaw actually wrote the book on that. What's the difference between a millennial and how do you talk to them a little differently than you might deal with a baby boomer? And so we offer training to businesses and around Chicago and really around the country, and our trainers will go in and specifically train to those issues. We also have a trainer that does a lot of work with training counselors, psychologists, and social workers in crisis response. In other words, what do you do after there's a horrific event? And it's a different set of skills than they would have normally learned in school. And so most of the trainers actually around Naperville and much of Chicago have been trained by Rod Ogilvy, one of our senior trainers.
How did this idea of getting all these 3 things under one umbrella come together?
Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and so you see where the needs are at, and sometimes we, like with coaching, we had to go back and retrain to learn how to do that correctly. And then back when 911 hit, we realized there were a lot of people that did not have the training to do post-event debriefings, and so Rod went back to school to learn how to do that. So I said, never again would we be lost on that. In fact, that was that day. 911, I was at Edward Hospital when the terrible event occurred, and they asked who's had training in post-event debriefing. Nobody. And it was that day I said, we're going to be in the training business for this.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by and telling us a little bit about what you do. It's fascinating. You bring a wealth of knowledge. So
thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's been a pleasure. So we'll be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned.